Welcome to another episode of Traveler's Guide to Bizarre World. In our first video, we took a look to the traveling itself, and I gave you some basic tips. In our second video, we will dive deep into this rabbit hole named travel and take a closer look at the most important element of it, which is, unsurprisingly, transportation. Transportation has come a very long way itself. It first started with traveling by foot millions years ago. However, with humans it too started to evolve. When we started to domesticate animals such as horses, donkeys, and dogs, this opened a new way of transportation, including riding on the horses, using sleds that's carried by dogs, and making carts that are powered by oxes or other animals. Advancements were not only progressing on land, humanity's most formidable border, water itself too was having its own styles of transportation. So the first ships were invented on different sides of the world. These ships too started to improve with the humans itself. So we had things like famous Viking longship and more cryptic Korean turtle ship. With the industrial era's start, a new source of power was on its way. No, not this one. The power of steam. This resource enabled us to make every Wild West lover's beloved machine, train. Now we had fixed routes to places in a faster and comfortable way. Let's kick it up a notch. So we have things like trains that can go much faster and safer from place to place. The downside is, well, you can't go to everywhere with it. This is where the horse cars come to place. But what happens if you're a German gentleman that wants to tour the streets at night non-stop? Or you understand the weakness of the flesh and crave the strength and certainty of steel? Then you do what everyone would do and create the first car. Ships are progressing, land vehicles are progressing, so we have everything we need, right? Wrong. Using the power of the dead dinosaurs, these two metalheads come to the action and create the very first working airplane. All of these vehicles never stopped evolving and are an integral part of our everyday life. So, how can we use them as a traveler to our advantage? This will be a rundown of the popular travel methods that I personally know, so I won't gonna include everything. Let's start with the most famous one, the plane. Planes are the best way of traveling if you have the money. They are fast, they don't care about oceans and mountains, and sometimes you can get pretty good deals off them. Don't worry about environmental impact. Unless you have the environmental awareness of Taylor Swift, you won't gonna affect the climate change. As I said, planes have a lot of advantages, but they can also be a nightmare fuel. Depending on your airline, you can lose your luggage, have some contents of it stealed, or wait for hours on an airport due to delays. There is also the luggage problem. If you are the type that packs their whole house with itself, then probably you are going to pay some extra bucks. The probability of these things happening depends on the airline, but quality means money. You are warned. For finding good deals, try Google Flights Exploration Mode. I also have the apps of Ryanair and Wizz on my phone, so I can cry when I see a discount that I can't buy. Next up, Europeans and 20th century soldiers' fan favorite, train. They are generally cheap and cheaper if you book them early. They have a consistent timetable if the workers aren't overworked and underpaid. Generally, you won't gonna have problems with luggage and it's quite comfortable, at least for me. If you are a student, you should also check things like Interrail that gives you pretty sweet deals. Their main problems are they are not found in everywhere, so your movement will be limited. For example, I do not see any good railroad systems in North America, but on the contrary side, Europe and Japan is brimming with them. I would especially recommend using the Trenitalia trains while visiting Italy. Trains are also a known spot for the good old sport known as pickpocketing, so you have to be careful. You can find and book trains from applications such as Rail Planner. For non-European alternatives, look to the transportation websites of that country. Next one is the car's more bulked up cousin known as bus. Buses are everywhere. There is even a bus line that lets you go from one side of Canada to the other side. They are generally cheap and they too don't care much about your luggage weight. They are also a good way of travel in Balkan countries, especially Albania. Its downsides, however, can be quite the downs. You will travel much slower, you will probably be at a crowded place for hours with so many other quirky personalities. The burglary principle will apply here too. And the worst part, you won't gonna be able to move when the sun hits you through the window. Ships are a completely different story. They can be a cheap way of transportation between two landmasses or suck the money out of you with their casino-embedded cruises. They are also the only vehicle that lets you take your car with yourself. You can bring a good amount of luggage and have some very scenic moments with your friends. Its general disadvantage is, well, it can't go onto the land and the long distances of it generally costs a bit. For the people that want to do a cruise tour, if you don't like hotels and being in a crowded environment, don't do it. That Greek islands tour will shatter your dreams and you will lose money in the process. Speak of the devil. Is there a more money-hungry thing than a dying millionaire's wife or your car's gas tank? I don't think so. Car's strength comes from its autonomy. You can go anywhere, anytime with anything if you have the will and wits to do it. Car renting too is a great option if you want to see more remote areas that don't have public transportation. This way of travel may be costly and tiring depending on how you drive, but can also be very rewarding depending on your way of travel. Last one is a Joker card. It can be used on cars, trains, and even planes if you are determined enough. This is hitchhiking. Hitchhiking is very flexible in and on itself. You can try to hitchhike on a boat in return of your labor, hop to a cargo train, or pass the Mexican border by hiding on a bus. Hitchhiking's best part is the adventure that comes with it. It's also free, and if you are lucky you can have quite the comfortable ride. The downside is, this luck factor may decide everything for you. In my experiences, the people that take me to their car was very good. Was some of them high during driving? Yes. Did they give me water and snacks? Yes. I see this as an absolute win. If this type of travel is not for you, you can use an application like BlaBlaCar that lets you do hitchhiking in a much safer manner by building an information pool around you and your driver. There are still so many ways of transportation, but I covered the ones I knew from my experiences, and I don't want to give false information about things that I don't know. Hope this video was helpful. See you on another episode.